Hello, welcome everyone to The Distraction. It is Thursday. I'm Jeremy Lambert, joined as always the chubby chief, Joseph Hulbert. Joseph, how are you?
Slightly concerned, Jeremy. I arrived 15 minutes before bell time, and we have discussed the NBA in great depth. I have no
That's
idea
all
what
we're
you're talking
talking about today. I sent you the rundown. The topics today are Lou Dort, game winner, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, undisputedly the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Al Horford just makes winning basketball plays. And who are the Thunder playing in the finals? That's what we're talking about today, everybody. If you don't like those topics, tune out.
I mean, O'Neal must be thinking, wow, this is going to be a tough hour. Are they going to make it to my time? We'll get there, Rob. I have news here. I can now see the comments for this show. I am now seeing the live chats as they flow in. This has never happened to me, but I've been doing this show for legitimately 14 months.
You didn't realize you could click on the comments tab and see these things.
No clue. So those of you, those chat lurkers that have never ever reached out to me via social media, be wary of your general Hulbert Dunkers, because I now see the stuff you're saying. But yes, very exciting times.
Well, if you want your question, comment, or statement read on air, everybody, and show up on the screen, do what JJ did. Send a super chat. Hello to my favorite big stars. Hope everything is well and good. If you missed the big show on Tuesday, it is now available to watch on Scraps. The big show JJ is referring to is the Twitch show, The Distraction on Twitch, with Chaos Project, Luther, and Serpentico. It is up on youtube.com/Fightful Scraps. You can also get it at twitch.tv/Fightful Gaming.
I was wondering if Sean had signed Paul White the Big Show then. I was very confused if he was doing like live streams on Scraps, so I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I know the budget is getting pretty wild. Not if I have anything to say about it, because I'm starting. Guys, let me tell you. Today, we had some talk, Sean, on a Saturday night. I felt like Roddy Piper circa 97 strolling into Bish's office. Incredible scenes. Thank you, folks. You've got me there. But, this is very scary. Let's talk about white shirts. Jeremy, they talk about our show while we do it. What do they do? They should talk amongst each other. I'm getting off of it. I don't like it.
Did we plan the Paul White shirts?
No, we should have, though.
This is not a bit, folks. It's not a bit at all. We just both happen to wear white today.
Is that like, have we not done this before? I feel like it's not like we're in the same
we've worn the same color before. We did blue shirts like literally like 2 weeks ago. Joseph and I are just on the same wavelength a lot. That's literally all it is.
Other than when it comes to what wrestling topics we're talking about. And every week it's a fight. I say, can we discuss the Fiend Bray Wyatt? He says, no, we've got to discuss this and that. You know, AEW did something. Impact. I texted Jeremy, I say, do I have to watch NXT? He goes, closing angle. So I'm watching this show. I'm watching the Karrion Kross wrestle, all in anticipation of this closing angle. And he's like, oh, he just punched him in the dick. Like, that's it. Oh, we're not going to talk about that, Jeremy. You know we're not going to. But I understand it. Be a professional, because the chat is flowing. Paul White is Fightful. White shirt talk. It's very, very scary.
Guys, there's no bit with the white shirts. I wish we were going to Paul White. That's what it is. That's the whole bit. Paul White's in AEW, Joseph. This kind of came out of nowhere. He seemed like a WWE guy for life. He's got Netflix shows with them. There was talk like last year he's going to do like Big Show travels the world. And I mean, that obviously tough to do now. But this was like a legitimate show that was supposed to happen. It seemed like he was a WWE guy for life. And now he's in AEW. He's going to do commentary for another wrestling show, AEW Dark Elevation. Cannot wait to not watch that Monday nights. And sounds like he's going to wrestle a little bit too. What do you make of this?
So just firstly, I do think it's worth noting. Do we not agree that this is a new wrestling show, but in reality, it's more like I think they're splitting the Tuesday show, right? That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, instead of 1 3-hour show, it's right. 2 1.5-hour shows.
I know that's better or worse. I'm just saying, I think that's what's going to happen. So here's the deal with this, okay? The real news here, and I mean this is no disrespect to our friend The Big Show, who is an important piece of this show's history. I don't think he's really the news so much as what it's like signifies, you know?
Yeah.
Now, but in our respect to the career he's had, I think it's worth talking about him for a moment. At least a moment, seeing as it is his news. Everything we would know as wrestling fans about that man would suggest he's a great presence as a leader. He's going to be working matches, so he will be hands-on with guys. he's almost certainly going to pick a big body to put over. Like the same way he did with Braun a couple of years back. Remember, he just made a point of it. Like, we're going to have these matches, whether it's Wardlow, Hobbs, whoever. That's what he does. He's not a guy who's coming in to sort of, be world champ, I would assume. He has a great reputation. I'm happy for him that he can make some good money. And I've always thought commentary would be a great fit for him. The little kind of elephant in the room with this is, in their commentary position, it's no problem. If he sat in those WWE commentary positions, those VIP seats, the prices are plummeting, Jeremy. There's no one seeing over the big show, So I think that's a real factor here. I really do. But nonetheless, I think it's cool news for that roster. It's another great voice as a mentor. But what it's what it means is bigger. But first, Jeremy, the big show. You excited?
Sure. I mean, I don't have any issues. Like you said, he's a very important piece of this show's history. Our Tuesday show would not exist without the big show and his show. So power to him. Big Show, his whole career, look, he's been around for a very long time. I think he's had a very strong career. I mean, the dude came in immediately to WCW. Hogan was like, this is my guy. This is the guy I want to slam and tell everybody he was 600 pounds, and I slammed him in front of 80,000 people. Like, that was a big feud. That was a big feud for them because like that Dungeon of Doom feud sucked, but Giant kind of made it seem like, all right, at least there's an end game here. WWE run, fantastic, especially when he rode on the coffin. It's one of my favorite segments of all time. Like, his career was over. WWE did not see the value in him that I guess he saw in himself. You're right that he will make it a point to put over some of these big guys. I joked about it on Twitter of Luchasaurus in 15 years is going to be telling the story that Big Show tells about The Undertaker of like, this is how you work, brother. Like, you're giving him too much. You got to work like a big man. You can't be going out there throwing drop kicks and selling and everything. Like, you got to be pissed off and work like a giant. That's what Luchasaurus is going to say about the Big Show in 15 years on Chris Jericho's Not Political podcast. Wardlow is a good one. I didn't think of him. Hobbs, certainly. Like, he's going to help these guys because a lot of their agents right now are like Arn, Dean, Jerry. They're more like technical kind of guys. Big Show's going to help these bigger guys. So I think it's a very good get for AEW in that respect. Commentary, I feel like he'll be good, but I don't know until you actually hear him. But it seems like he's a smart guy. I'm sure he does a lot of tape study. I don't think he's coming in here to like half-ass anything. He's going to be working with Shivani. Shivani's obviously great. So I think he'll be good on commentary.
I agree. I think, it should be a fun show if presented in line with what the press release was, where it was like, they always do the wins and losses things and everything they say. Like, they could be reporting the most just nothing news, and it'd be like, but wins and losses will matter here. Like, I mean, if you do it as a real kind of a path to the big show, ironically, it will be a good fit. But then we get to the second half of my point there, and it's like, this is a message to any of us that follow this stuff, cover it, anything in between. There's no time for like loyalty or lifers, okay? This is a clear moment you can mark in, whether you think the big show is a big signing or not, of like, this is what it means to have two major promotions.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, if they was having trouble coming to a deal, Show weren't going to go to Ring of Honor, man. It's not happening. Like, it was not going to happen. But because AEW has such a big squad and a lot of money, which is really the key ingredient here, not only does he look at that money, he looks over and says, okay, Arn Anderson's there. Arn's Big Show's guy. That's who wants to induct him in the Hall of Fame that he may not even go into now, which is, again, an incredible thought to kind of ponder. Cody's there, a WrestleMania opponent of his. There's familiar faces. This isn't an indie promotion kind of juiced up. This is now like, they've got a squad, man. So stuff like this is now possible, whether you're excited about it or not, where it's like, your favorite wrestler that you may think is locked into that system, or the other system, it only takes one or two things, and they have options now. Like, I don't know what his deal is, but I would guess he's getting paid a pretty good amount of money to be a wrestler and a commentator for what is basically going to be the C show for them. Like, it's just an interesting moment. I mean, I tweeted yesterday, I was having some fun with it. I was like, we're living in a TEW database. Dude, if we were doing our TEW series and it came out the big show into AEW, we'd be like, that's the dumbest thing ever. It's real. It literally came out on our timeline. Paul White is all
Samoa Joe went to AEW and our TEW
Yes.
database.
Yes, and we were like, well, but you could have any of this stuff can happen. And that's the beauty of it. Whether you like AEW, WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, MLW, sorry, cool, all of those, you now have got to realize that we're getting to a point where these guys I'm not just signing. They wasn't happy with the terms they were coming to, obviously, but I also think at his core, and this is obviously not a scoop. I don't know the Big Show, believe it or not, but I think guys like the idea that they're valuable again.
Yeah.
And this is not a knock on WWE. It's just he'd been there for 20 years. Like when the Big Show came out in WWE, it was like, oh, it's the Big Show. Whereas just because he's new, it's not going to be like an AEW, right? And I think he sees it as, okay, this finished my last couple of years here. Back on TNT, which I'm sure pops him too. That's pretty fun. It's a different landscape. And that's the biggest message I took from this.
I mean, he headlined WrestleMania last year, Joseph. He worked Drew McIntyre in the main event, the dark match main event of that show. The value thing is definitely key because what I don't understand is WWE has all this money, right? They just had their biggest year ever. I don't know what the financial terms were. I don't know what Big Show wanted, and I don't know what WWE was willing to give him and stuff. But if you're WWE, I feel like this looks a little bad. He's been there for however many years. He's been there since 1999, right? The St. Valentine's Day Massacre, 99. So he's been there since 99. Just pay him whatever he wants. You're not losing money because you're paying the Big Show an extra who knows how much. And especially you just signed 18 million guys in the Performance Center. I mean, best of luck to all of these people. I don't know how many are going to make any type of impact, but just show that you have some loyalty with this kind of stuff. I mean, you mentioned it, there is no loyalty in this game. We're both basketball fans, and we see it all the time of teams don't have loyalty to players don't have loyalty to teams. And wrestling is similar, but it doesn't have to be that similar because you're not working on a salary cap. There's less options of where you want to go. You can afford to just pay this man if that's what he wants. So I'm a little shocked that they just didn't be especially because the rumor, the reports were last year of everything, they were willing to do anything to keep anybody away from AEW. Obviously that's not as true now. They just let Sting go instead of paying him and whatnot. It seemed like Big Show was perfectly fine, willing to stay. He just didn't get the money that he wanted. And maybe he didn't get the opportunities that he wanted either. And I do think the opportunities for a lot of these guys, we've mentioned before, FTR and Brody and people, you can throw as much money as you want at them, but if you're not going to use them and they're not going to be satisfied creatively, they're going to take still good money and then be allowed to work. But WWE is so good with their legends and stuff. You telling me they couldn't pay Big Show an extra $500,000 and let him go out there and put guys over he probably wants to do, or let him do commentary on Main Event or something? That's
weird. The thing is so no company has spent more money on just having legends on board, right? Than WWE. And then that makes me think that while the report is what it is, and I'm certainly not questioning that report because it is reputable, but it has to be a role thing, man. Because I just feel like if he wanted to just be a legend guy who does a couple matches a year, they could do that deal. I feel like he wants to be part of the team. And I wonder and this is pure speculation, but I just wonder if he looked at it and was like, how many agents do they have at this point in WWE? If he wants to do that, if he wants to be a coach, they've got a lot of guys. And I'll point everyone to, and I'm sure you can find the quote on Fightful, Jeremy is probably the one that got it. A couple of years back when he spoke about WWE TV, and he was like, they're the worst days of all. I love house shows, but we sit around at TV all day talking about these terrible ideas made up by these dumb writers. That's not his thing, man. That's just not. I wonder if that's a part of this. He doesn't want to be an agent because he knows what that job's like. Again, his relationship with Arm would make sure he knows that much. It's a tough gig, man, because you're getting given stuff to relay that isn't wrestling stuff. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So I think it might be more complex than just money, because I feel like if it was just money, man. I mean, they love Show, clearly, right? He's one of the most beloved guys internally. I just don't think, even if that's reporting against a reputable one, I just can't see that being the stumbling block that lets him leave and go to another promotion. That seems insane to me.
I'm with you. I think there is more to it than just they couldn't agree to financial terms. Again, this was the report. It was, to be fair to it, Mike Johnson at PW Insider, and they're very good. Mike Johnson's very good. So I believe that may have been part of it. I do think that there had to be some type of creative difference there as well. But yeah, maybe he just didn't want to do that kind of agenting. Like if he wanted to wrestle more, like I don't know why they wouldn't throw, like they throw anybody out there on Raw each week. Like you're telling me they couldn't have, the Big Show would have headlined SummerSlam if they're like, hey, just let me do another match against Drew and let's build it up and stuff. And I'll put Drew over again with a proper build. They would have done that in a heartbeat. Like, yeah, Big Show. Remember him? He's been a champion. He's been around for however many years, multiple time world champion. I feel like they would have easily done that. If you wanted to do commentary stuff, that like they got a million shows. I feel like they could have found a place for him on commentary. I mean, he's like you said, he's doing commentary on the C show. They couldn't have thrown him on Main Event or something,
right?
For that.
But again, it's like, is then that a case of him knowing how commentators are treated there and being like, I'm cool, we're not getting shot? Because let's be honest, dude, Tony Khan ain't going to say a crossword to that man for like at least 18 months of his multi-year contract. Like, if he's doing it with Vince don't care. He's working for years. But I'll say this much: if it came down to Show saying I would like to wrestle more, I have thumbs up to WWE being like, you know what, man, like, God bless, have fun, because I don't need Show wrestling WWE, because that, to me, that system had explored him completely. You know, so I actually think it's more. While I agree with your point that, like, if he wanted just to stick around, be loyal, I think they need to get more comfortable just being like, you know what, we actually haven't got anything for you anymore. Go and explore the free market, have fun. They should have done it with Gallows and Anderson 2 years ago before signing them to a new deal and then cutting them, right? Like, it should be more fluid, I think. So there you go. We'll see.
It should be, but they want to talent hoard and try to find locker rooms at the Performance Center for a lot of these people. Well, that's what he could have done. He should have gone to the Performance Center. Paul would have loved to have him. Been like, you got to teach Karrion Kross how to work like a big man here, Show. And that should have been his role, Joseph.
Yeah, and Show would have been like, so like, when does he get big? Because he looks an awful lot like a 6 foot tall bald guy, mate. But sure, I'll teach him. Yeah.
Some stupid punk, like that's his name. Nobody yell at me. So the very first episode of the Distraction podcast I ever watched was the episode we reviewed the Big Show Christmas special. That show sucked. Both our show and the Big Show Christmas special.
Well, that was when my mic wasn't here and I was just losing my mind about Christmas and rocking back and forth in a jumper. That was a terrible show. How have you stuck with us, my friend? Thank you, though. I appreciate it.
He sent another one as well. What legend would you like, do you think, goes next? Kurt, Christian, and is there anyone you'd love to see go over? I think Owens or Joe. Kurt's a guy that, like, I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet, because like he got released by WWE during the time last year. And I mean, he came back for a couple spots, but I'm shocked that hasn't happened. Maybe Kurt just doesn't want to do it. And Kurt's another, like, especially now, like, very loyal guy to WWE. So maybe he's just waiting until they got a spot for him again and he'll end up going back there. Christian, Moxley mentioned Christian as he'd love to see him over there and let him, like, really be creative and stuff. Christian's another guy. It just seems like the loyalty is gonna kind of be there. But I would have thought that of Show as well, and then we saw what happened. So, you know, what do I know? I think there is loyalty. Like Joseph said, there's really no loyalty in any of this.
Yeah, it's hard to see. It's hard to pick a name out after Show, because he'd have asked us a week ago, he'd have been on the furthest one on the list of, like, no way, right? So it's like, it's difficult. I think it's easier to discuss who we would like to see as fans. I think Owens and Joe are, like, you know, for sure. I mean, Owens is in a good spot right now, though, right? Like, I mean, I'm not here to say that it's perfect, but at least he's doing stuff again. He feels like a top baby face. That's good stuff. That's where he belongs. Joe is an interesting one to track, because I'm reminded of the famed Randy Savage situation, right? Where it's like, not the one you're thinking of, Jeremy, the commentary one, where he's like, he wants to wrestle, they're not so sure. That's something to follow, I think. I mean, our friend Rick, right? Rick, Sportskeeda, he did an interview with the Joe this week. Yes, thank you. He did an interview with Joe this week, and Joe effectively said, like, they're being real careful with him.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe hasn't got many years to spend on commentary if he wants to wrestle. So that's one to follow, I think, for sure. But, like, you know, they also really appreciate and respect him. So it's difficult to say. The biggest problem, I think, when you're looking at guys to go over is a lot of the guys my mind goes to are in-ring guys. And to be quite frank, AEW just doesn't need any more of those guys. Like, I would love to see Buddy Murphy get out of that system. But, like, do they need Buddy Murphy? No, they don't really. Like, Cesaro was the same thing a month when his contract was coming up. So I don't know. That's why Joe does stand out, because he's such a great promo. I'm not sure.
It is tough when you talk about WWE guys who could potentially jump, whether it's agent, whether it's on-screen talent. Because we've mentioned it many times of like they have so much talent nowadays that it's if you're bringing in a guy like a Samoa Joe, like that's a top guy for you. If you're bringing in a guy like Kevin Owens, that's a top guy for you. You have another top guy, guys get pushed down in the pecking order, and they have so many guys ready to like be in that top spot right now that it would be tough for them to get pushed down in that pecking order. So I'm not sure like they need any of these guys. Agenting, like I do think that's an interesting spot for a guy like an Angle or a Christian, because like they're very good about using their legends on screen. I mean, like how much has Taz enhanced Team Taz? Yeah. Like Arn Anderson's been good for Cody. Vicky Guerrero has been kind of a miss for Nyla Rose.
In fairness, no disrespect to Vicky, but like, you know, it's not quite the same tier, is it? You know, it's different.
No, not at all. But like they still haven't done anything with that. It could have been more if they put any type of effort into that act. Jake Roberts has been very good for Lance Archer. Maybe not as much in the pandemic era, but like when there were live crowds, Roberts was very good for Lance Archer. So and I think Sting is good for Darby. It's been a little too much Sting for me. Like I don't need him every single week, but last night's angle was killer. Yeah. Killer.
They've turned the corner on. I mean, the last 2 weeks, I think it's like, okay, now we're rolling to a pay-per-view match. Before that, it was just like you were just hitting the same note over and over. I will say, to go back to that question, the thing we're missing is if they could acquire one of the top women from WWE, I think that could be a perception shift for their division. Because I think this tournament has kind of shown, man, like this, they got some talent there. Not it wasn't obvious before, but like, I'll be honest, I didn't think Britt and Nyla could have that good of a match together. That looked like an awkward matchup on paper. They killed it. They had a terrific match. So I don't know who the name is. I'm certainly not going to speculate here and get in trouble. But I would say if they could get one of those top women,
like who are we thinking? Because look, Sasha's not going anywhere. Charlotte's not going anywhere. Becky's not going anywhere. Bayley's not going anywhere. The Fiendess? You think the Fiendess teleports over to AEW?
I'm not saying anything. All I'm saying is when Brandy Rose was asked, any woman in the world, who do you want? She said, I'll go Bliss, the Fiendess. So, listen, actually, you know what? I'm doing it here. I'm doing it. Tony, I know you watch our show. Please, man, can you save me from this shit? I can't. It's been 6 months. I've tried so hard to pretend to like this stuff. I use it for comedy. I get Twitter bits out of it. All of this stuff, okay? It's terrible, man. She ain't gonna wrestle that much longer. We can't waste this many years on the Fiend Bray Wyatt. Please. Can we please? I mean, look, there's a comment in here, Nikki Cross, also good. But come on, save me. Save me. Come on. Tony, save me.
The Fiendess wasn't in WCW. He's got to bring in someone who was in WCW.
She was in my WCW, though. And in that WCW, I famously signed the Big Show to a 10-year player coach commentator contract. I'm ahead of the game.
Are we saying Jacob Fatu is next for AEW?
Yes. And he will beat Daniel Bryan in 3 minutes flat.
Joseph Jacob Fatu booking always, it's just like 3 a.m. and he's like, Jeremy, listen to this idea I got for Jacob Fatu.
I had Stokely with him too as his manager. Sorry, Malcolm Bivens. It was tremendous times, great times.
Music and Moonsault says, give me Chain Smoking Giant on TNT. Yeah, sure.
On Com too.
The vape smoking giant at this point. We've upgraded from the cigarettes. Super Sick Bud Ryan says Phoenix is the best wrestler not in the main event scene. He main evented last night. Well, what do you want? Happy he lost. Both last time both bros were in a ladder match. Bucks almost died. You were both awesome. You won him in the main event scene, but then you're happy he lost. What are we doing here, Bud Ryan?
The main event scene in AEW would be so hard to try and figure out who's.
What is the main event scene? It's Omega, Moxley, and then everything else is like upper mid main event.
Yes. There's 20 guys, and I've criticized that in WWE, but because they don't beat them all, it doesn't feel like as big a problem in AEW, right? I will say though, as good as it was, I'd be lying to you if I didn't admit that when I saw Archer and Phoenix, I was kind of like, It's not a particularly blockbuster. When I saw the match, I realized why Tony was sweating bullets about in every interview he did. But like, it's a mix, right, between match quality and like marquee power.
Dude, Tony did like 15 interviews this week, and I love next week's going to be very fun, where Tony's hyping Revolution. And if any any news people listen to this podcast, which you should, just go ahead and write these quotes now. Tony Khan, very excited for AEW Revolution, believes it's going to be the best card they've ever put on, believes the in-ring quality is going to be the best they've ever had, thinks you're going to see something you've never seen before in the exploding barbed wire death match, promises it'll be worth your money, it'll be worth staying up late for on a Sunday night, and when the show ends in the media call, he's going to call it the best show they've ever done. There you go. That's the Tony Khan quote. Oh, wait. It's going to be the best show we've ever done, Joseph. The in-ring quality, I feel like for this show, it's going to be fantastic. We've never put on a card like that. I've spent countless hours staying up late putting this show together. And let me tell you, I think this is the best show we've ever done, Joseph. I think this is the best show we've ever done.
The first question on that post call will be, and we're reviewing this show, right? Is this what happens now? We're reviewing this show. Okay. The first question on the call will be, Tony, you said it would be the best show ever. Are you happy with the show? And he's going to be, I'm very happy with the show. I think it was the best. It happens every time. But I watched his interview with a competitor, Kayfabe brother, because someone said he said some nice things about our friends, the Ricky Starks and the Ed Kingston. And I was like, I'll watch this. Yeah, I'll watch this, I said. Literally the question was, what about when you signed Ricky Starks and Eddie Kingston? 12 minutes later, he's like, and then I spoke to Mox. Mox loves Eddie Kingston. We said, should we do a program? Yeah, we'll do a program. Me and Mox were the same wavelength for a lot of time. So we think the same things. So basically, like, I'm looking at Mox saying, should we do Eddie Kingston? He's already said it to me. We're doing Eddie Kingston. So we're like, okay, we're going to do Eddie Kingston at Full Gear. Let's move it forward 4 weeks and still do it at Full Gear. And Eddie Kingston's great. Like, we value him so much. He's such a good guy. I'm happy for him. Ricky Starks, let me tell you about Ricky. It's like, whoa, one question, bro. I just chill, but I love the energy. I love the energy.
I've listened to so many Tony Khan interviews. The man, there's two people he gushes over. It's Starks and Darby. Like, just, you can ask him anytime, and he gets asked this by every like outlet that hasn't done 5 million interviews with him, of like, who are the people in AEW that you could see like you're building around in the next couple of years or whatever. It's Ricky Starks, Darby Allin. Those are his go-to answers, and he just talks about how much he loves it. I mean, Ricky Starks is smashing the cold beers with TK at midnight. So, I mean, how can you not love the guy?
You notice that with Darby, he doesn't talk about like his promos or his work. He's just like, have you seen these films he makes for Dynamite? Oh, he thinks he's like Scorsese.
Dude, when he talks about Darby, he's like, I didn't get him at first. But then I just talked to him, and you talk to this guy, and he's brilliant. The way he thinks about wrestling, the creativity, the way he goes the extra mile for everything, it's just brilliant. I get him now. Like, all you got to do is sit down, have one conversation with this guy, and you can just see the creativity and the brilliance that comes through in this man. And all I had to do was put that on television.
So good. It's so good. It's like performance art, but he's being 100% sincere. Like, it's adorable, to be honest, but he's also like a billionaire. So you're like, I don't know how to take this guy, but there he is. He's having fun.
You once messaged me that Tony Khan is an incredible mix of redacted, and it stands true.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have some fuel to do that gig. God bless him. He's having
George Amin says, when is NWO and Goldberg showing up in AEW? Hulk Hogan's been banned, I believe, so probably never.
Isn't the NWO now like Butcher, Blade, and King? I thought it was official. Can we not do that? Can we not make a thing?
So. Yeah.
The Butcher's interview with Miro. Oh my goodness.
So good.
What lovely men those two are. I wish I could enjoy the Miro in AEW, but he seems like a lovely, lovely man. He really does.
Some stupid punk says, and the Chubby Chief reminded me of my next question. What women do you think could reasonably jump and benefit AEW? Ember Moon is a personal favorite. Joseph loves the Ember Moon.
That would be a good one. I mean, I think Ember's at a point in WWE, and this is not a criticism, this is just a reality of the situation where they have so many women in that like tier of need to push that her injury issues naturally knock her down in that tier. Whereas if she goes to AEW, like, she's just so good that I think it would be a cool move for her. But I also think Ember's like, she's very, she'll have a take on that, I promise. If you asked her, she'd either tell you, yes, I'm very excited to do that, or she'd be like, no, and here's why. I've got a coaching gig lined up. I'm going to do Fox Sports back. She's very switched on, so I'll leave that to her. She'll have fun with that.
Anything else from Big Show going to AEW in general?
Oh, this was about Big Show, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is our show, Joseph. We start on one topic and then we drift into 5 million different topics.
Do you think Tony got my message about it was, because if not, I'll do it again. Tony, I'm struggling, man. This is a year ago, I was embracing women's tag team wrestling for the sake of my brand. And, I've tried, man. I did that with ease. And doing the same for the Fiend Bray Wyatt has been, the toughest thing I've ever tried. It's actually awful. I'm now rebranding to a Ring of Honor guy because of how much it's scarred me. Please, the Fiendess needs saving. She's possessed, Tony Khan. Only money can save this. Please. It's enough. I've got that.
Tony Khan ain't landing the Fiendess on Punky Brewster, let me tell you. So she ain't going nowhere, Joseph.
Has anyone seen this shit? Is it out?
They released the clip for it. Remember, we showed the images on screen, or we looked at the images together. They're locking up with the Seth Rollins cardboard cutout in the background.
Was that when we was trying to get Robert O'Neill to buy an Alexa Bliss portrait?
Yeah, I think so. That was the same show.
That ruled.
We're about 30 minutes away from O'Neill's Corner 3, by the way, everybody. It's coming up. It's coming up, Joseph. Going up 30 minutes.
You played it half of it and then went back off and did it again. That rule.
I didn't realize it started the first time. That's why I clicked it again. It didn't start for me, so I was very scared. Very scared of that one. Since we're in 2010, Joseph, with the Big Show dominating the headlines, The Miz is also dominating the headlines. He's the champion. He's the WWE champion in 2010. This month, I believe, even February 2010, Miz and Big Show became the unified, undisputed World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions of Raw, SmackDown, and the WWE Universe. And now, in 11 years later, February 2021, they're back in the headlines, and Miz is the WWE champion.
Wow, headlines for it. I'm happy. See, here's the deal, okay? This set adds the way here. I'm happy for the Miz because I do agree with the take that he should have had this honor a few years back. I look at when he was the IC champion in 2016. I fast forward to next year and Jinder was WWE champ. There's no reason he couldn't have been in that position. There's just not. He was terrific in that time. I loved his act with Maurice in particular. He's a really hard-working guy who cuts good promos and has fine matches. I have no issue. With that being said, I really think it's difficult to be super fired up for this, which is fine because it is a transition. We kept saying about how dizzying it was, about this whole Raw main event thing, which we'll get to in a minute where they're going. But as for this moment, I do have to say, I was watching this pay-per-view live with my brother, who is a sort of lapsed fan, kind of, not really, fake lapsed, actually watches the show, pretends he's lapsed. And the Miz cashed in and we were watching the show. And it's it's the Miz. And he pinned him, and we both just sort of sat there. And I turned the television off as Steve Austin started talking, and we both went on our phones, just didn't say a word to each other. I don't know what happened. But at some point, the Miz had just destroyed us. We had nothing left to say to each other about wrestling. It was done. It felt like that. It didn't feel like an occasion or event at all, did it? It was just the Miz is now the champ. And no one took it seriously because everyone knows it's a transition, which is fine. It works in a vacuum. Do I wish a belt changing meant more? Sure, man. But they don't even care about it. So that's fine. The big news here is my friend, Big Van Bob, right? Because I was right on this, Jeremy, and no one thought I was. Everyone goes, well, what about the promo? Oh, he's not a very good promo, is he? Oh, well, he was rubbish in 2004, so he's obviously shit for the rest of his life. So, no, you were wrong, and I was right. And TNA Impact wins here, baby, because we told you Bob was a top guy, and now in 2021, Bruce has suddenly woke up and gone, oh my God, look at Bob Lashley. Yes, we knew. Let's get on with this. Let's get the belt on him. Let's get rolling. Let's get the merch. Big Van Bob is here.
You were in on this from 2 months ago, I believe. You're like, Bob Lashley, I feel like that's the guy for Drew at Mania. Get your Edges out of here. Get your Brock Lesnar's out of here. Your Ortons, your Sheamuses. It's Bobby Lashley. That's the guy they got to roll with against Drew in Mania. It looks like it's going to happen. Plans can change, Joseph. I don't know if you've heard that term before, that plans change. It's possible that plans do change, but it looks like they're going Lashley and Drew at WrestleMania.
I actually think, as crazy as this is to say, Bobby's the lock here. I think this might age badly. I think the only thing that's in doubt is it Drew or is it Brock? I think Bob's in that match. He beat Braun clean as a sheet in 3 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes, you know?
Well, 3 minutes and then 3.1 seconds.
Well, yeah, but, you got to respect the business, brother. I just think, I don't think you do all that they've done without being ready to go with Bob. The question is Raw going to actually look like... Because Miz is doing the Bad Bunny thing, right? That's just a lock. That's fine. That's a good spot for him, and I love the spot for Priest. I actually think those segments are quite good. I like the dynamic between them of Priest as the big brother. I think it's fun.
I mean, Bad Bunny should be facing Bob for the WWE title and the WrestleMania main event, for being honest.
Google Trends say so. So I think if you lock that in, there is a chance we're headed to McIntyre and Sheamus, Bob and Brock. Because McIntyre and Sheamus is not done, right? Didn't AJ pin Sheamus, right? That's what happened. And Sheamus was they were going back and forth. So my suggestion would be, there is a real chance that Monday coming, Drew halts the Miz Lashley match, setting up a triple threat for Fastlane. Then Sheamus would cost Drew in. Then the next night, Brock comes out, does the thing he does where he steps back and forth a lot. And then you got Bob and Brock. And in fairness, Jeremy, without Heyman, does that need more than 3 weeks to build? They brawl a little bit. They do some sit-down interviews. Cash. It's over. Let's make some money. As a fan. Go ahead.
You don't need Heyman for that. You've got MVP for it.
Yeah.
MVP can be the mouthpiece for Lashley, and Brock. Mm-hmm. Brock can just talk on his own. Brock is a very underrated talker, especially if you're going to do sit-down segments and stuff.
Yes, pre-tape. So you don't need video packages training montages and one brawl segment. It's over. As a fan, that's what you want, right? I'm not trying to hate on the big Drew here, but Bob and Brock is a fun match.
I think you are, Joseph. I think we know you've been against Drew this entire time. You've been the contrarian to your European brothers who are doing cry face emojis after Sunday of great second run, man. It wasn't as good as the first one, but they trusted him for that second time after Orton. They got the belt back on him, and now they're going to give them that moment. How sad, by the way, are they all going to be if it is Lashley and Sheamus, or Drew and Sheamus and Lashley and Lesnar, and Drew doesn't get that moment in front of fans? Because that's a talk. It's Drew's going to win the title at Mania and get the moment he didn't have last year in front of fans. How many crying face emojis from across the sea, from closer to you, are we going to see?
So many Union Jack emojis just shattered in tears. It's just an absolute patriotism mess taking place as Drew McIntyre fails to reclaim the WWF title at Fastlane. The thing is, that is when they make a guy their top guy, a part of that process is they have loads of title wins that really you can't split them, but it just makes up the numbers, right? It's before you know it, Drew's going to be a 6-time champ. So I'm not dismissing that. There is a very good chance this is just a way of having him win the belt again. I get that. But Brock.
If they can get Brock, and I'm pretty sure they could get Brock if they want to toss the money at him, and maybe losing Big Show puts more into, okay, we need to keep Brock. Let's toss whatever he wants at him. I don't know. But if they want Brock back and Brock's willing to just come back, then they'll come to an agreement. Brock is one guy, we say everybody can jump and stuff. Brock really only cares about the money. He knows what he's doing creatively. You just toss the figure at him and he's either going to take it or not. Vince ain't being outbid on Brock Lesnar.
Right, and here's the thing here, okay? If we fantasy book a little bit, if we imagine it's a one-off deal, right? So he comes in and puts Bob over, which I don't know Brock, believe it or not. But if there's a guy he's willing to put over, I'd imagine Bob Lashley's from a physicality standpoint, probably someone he can do it to, right? I mean, Bob's a big guy. And a shooter too. Not quite Brock's level of shooter, but a shooter nonetheless. If you kind of vision this, it's okay, so you've got the belt on a dominant Lashley who just beat Brock Lesnar. But you haven't really wasted the Drew match. Because the Drew match would have been hidden, right? Because you've done a three-way with Miz. They wrestled last year, but it's new. So then you can have a summer where Drew is chasing Bob. And eventually, I would assume, hope, cross our fingers, by SummerSlam, things will be more closer to normal. Then you can do the re-coronation, so to speak, for Drew. I'm obviously talking myself into this because I love the idea of the match itself, but like I do think there's something to be said for it because let's be honest, if it's the short-term plan, it's just they want Drew to win it at Mania. It's like, man, well, what does Drew do? There's not a whole lot of guys ready to be having long programs. That's why we're in this position, right? There's not a lot of guys on Raw. So,
the Fiend, Joseph, the Fiend.
Well, there you go. I mean, I don't know what's the. I can't do it. I can't talk about it anymore, Jeremy. I just watched Randall and I was like, this guy's just. He did like a fake cough in the middle of his promo to put it over. And it's like, this guy's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, and he's doing this. It just devastates me. And then you've got the Fiend Des. She's a week ago. I think it's actually today is the anniversary, okay? You know the famous Old Goat Bliss Elimination Chamber promo?
Yeah.
Where she does the swerve for the first time before they rewrote it 100,000 times for every other wrestler. And it's like, we were all discussing this on Twitter like she's retired. Like she'd moved on to do some sort of sitcom that just happens to air on Monday nights when Raw is on. It's bizarre, Jeremy. We were like, man, she was great, right? Alexa Bliss, what a talent. She's still here. She's still there. That division sucks. And they don't, they don't know what they're doing. And by the way, what are we even going to talk about that? So Rhea's coming soon. What does that mean? Is that a threat? Are they attacking me now?
It's like a trailer. It's like a trailer for a movie, Joseph. It's been a while since anybody's been to the movies, I would assume. But before, you used to go to a movie theater, you used to sit down, you get all your snacks and everything. And before you watch this 2-hour movie, you'd watch 30 minutes of previews. And sometimes when they'd air the previews, they would have a date of when the movie would be coming out. Sometimes it would just say, coming soon. And they didn't have a date set. That's what WWE's doing. It's your preview.
Scary. It's very scary. Makes me think Battle Royal. Very worrying times. I don't like it. But, that division needs help.
I mean, they only had a week to figure out what to do with Asuka with Lacey Evans out of that match. And they just decided we're just not going to do the match.
Just won't mention it. I do want to say that. Okay, so I thought that pay-per-view. So I like the Elimination Chamber. I loved the SmackDown match. I thought it was really good. I loved the whole Brian Roman half match. Oh, it was fun. Everyone in the world bit when he got him in the yes lock initially, right? It was like, oh my God. It was great. The Raw match was okay, nothing special, but everything was fine. And it was a very short show, easy to watch. It was a really clear reminder of those women's titles are not positioned like world titles, man. They're positioned like IC, US, that tier, We're 2 months from Mania, a little bit less, 6 weeks. Sasha Banks is one of the biggest stars you have. She's doing a job in a tag match that is so prelim. It's overshadowed by Reginald. And again, it's not Reginald's done a good job of what he's been given. It's a prelim act, isn't it? It's a sideshow deal. And you're listening like this. You should be treating this like it's a mega match. And instead it's not. And then on the other side, apparently Asuka not having an opponent was such a non-story, they just didn't even want to talk about it in the show. They're like, well, who cares? That would never happen with world titles. This is my take only, but I believe in it. I think when they handle the women correctly, they're the highlight of that show. I really do, Raw or SmackDown. I think they're so good. It's been the highlight of the last 5-6 years of WWE. At some point, man, you've got to stop capping them this way. Belair and Banks is a huge match. It should be main eventing one of these nights, and instead it feels like just a cool match, because they've taken that energy from it. It's sad. It's disappointing.
That dork, Sean Ross Sapp, tried to tell me on Friday they're doing something with the women's division, Jeremy. They're giving it time on SmackDown. They're doing tag matches, Jeremy. It's good. I like to see them giving it time. Sure, they're giving them 3 minutes to Natalya and Tamina against the Riot Squad. They're going out there after, the Riot Squad won 2 months ago and never got a title shot, but they lost in a non-title match, and now Natalya and Tamina are winning. Sure, they're giving them time, Joseph. Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler are out there. Bayley's out there. Sasha Banks is out there. Bianca Belair's out there. It's a fun segment. Right, Joseph? Use the door, idiot. We all cackled at that. Bayley's tremendous. They're getting time, right? Sucks, Joseph. It all sucks.
Here's the thing, okay? Let's go. If we look at this really, because we are good at this, Jeremy. We're going to analyze this now, okay? And we have nothing else to talk about, though, let's be honest. We're just killing time for O'Neill. That's what everyone's here for. So here's the situation. In fairness to the pal Sean Ross Sapp, who doesn't have any say of what I get paid, so I definitely wouldn't have any reason to say that he's correct. But in fairness, here's what I will say. SmackDown tries to feature their women most, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a role. I think they have the worst roster Because outside of that big three, and I like the Riot Squad, but they have made them such an absolute nothing. And it's like, God bless Natty and Tamina, but there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone in terms of that division. So I feel for them because while the Billy stuff's fun, you can only get so much out of it, isn't it? It's Raw is the opposite, where it's like, I feel like if they had the exact same approach SmackDown does, they could get way more out of the women that are not on TV. Like, I think it's crazy to have nothing for like Nikki or even Peyton. But then the issue with Raw is the big picture stuff is like mind melting. It's just no good, is it? It's never been interesting, the title scene. The most interesting it's been in the last year was when they put Banks over on Raw, which is like, that's just not the way it solves things. That's one thing. NXT, which is banned, I believe I've banned it again.
Okay.
Their women's division is interesting because it's like they have a great division, and I think it's the best of the three I just mentioned. I think it's better than AEW's and better than, I'll say it's better than Impact because frankly, Impact hasn't even got an opponent for the honor, so I'm not going to celebrate what they're doing particularly. But even though it's the best, it's like we reviewed TakeOver and we was all like, well, this Io Shirai match was cool and all, but it was clearly like the downswing in terms of interest of the show. That's a bummer, man. It feels like they're at a kind of like, they're at a crossroads almost. And it's saying needs a jolt. I feel like Belair and Banks should be that match. But if they carry on focusing on Reginald, it's not going to be it. I'm waiting for the women's division. With all that talent, this is the most talent we've ever seen a promotion have under one roof in terms of women, okay? I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on, Joshi, but let me tell you, they have a lot of great women if you count all of their brands. I mean, a ridiculous amount. I'm waiting for the product to capture how good it is, though. Because right now it still just feels good. I want more. I want more quality top to bottom,
SmackDown does give their women's division time. That's great. And I like Ding Dong Hello. But you're right in that Banks and Belair, they're trying to act like, oh, Belair hasn't made her decision yet. All right, like then what are we doing? What's going to stop her from? It's Sasha Banks, right? She's not appearing on Raw. She appeared on Raw like once, but Asuka's an afterthought. Like she had a match and then they pulled it, and they didn't even bother to pretend like, oh, Asuka still like wants to defend her title. She'll take on any opponent. Bring somebody out there, let her squash. And it's like, oh, man, Asuka. Remember? She's like, good. No, we'll just do nothing with her and then beat her the next night on Raw. Nia Jax pinned Sasha Banks on Sunday and Asuka on Monday. She beat the two champions in a tag team match. Are they giving Nia Jax a title shot? Like, do you think they even follow up on that one bit?
No. No. And I'm torn because my theory is I generally like the idea of a tag team beating two top singles, but there's a time and a place, and there's a way to do it, right? This is, we're coming close to the biggest show of the year, and that, by the way, the Asuka one, like, it didn't infuriate me because I just thought it was okay. At least it was a direct conflict. Dude, the Banks one was terrible. Like, it was a distraction, but it didn't really. It just felt like a flat loss. It was just awful. I don't know. It's, I think Nia and Shayna are a good team. I think they've actually had good matches as a team. It's just like, I look at what they're doing with these programs. It's like, we're going to end up at Charlotte versus Asuka, I would assume. Banks versus Belair. And, mate, they've got a long way to go to make those matches feel as big as they should. That's 4 premier talents right there. And then right now, if you ask me if I care, it's like, not at all. Not even a little bit. Other than just there'll be good matches, which is, it should be more than that. It should be. But there you go.
It's not going to be more than that, Joseph. Like, Banks and Belair you're right, it should headline night one. And unless they've got time, they've certainly got time to heat this thing up, but I don't know how you're going to have to do like a Banks heel turn or some type of turn, because what they're doing now just ain't working. And I said this on Friday's show, they completely booked themselves into a corner with this Jax and Baszler against Belair and Banks match on Sunday. It was unnecessary because the best thing you could get out of it is Banks and Belair win, and then they're the champions, and then they hold the belts until Mania, and then it's tag team champions fighting over the one belt. But we saw that last summer with Banks and Bayley. It wasn't good. It nuked the entire division. The worst case scenario was you're beating Sasha Banks or Bianca Belair. Either you're beating your champion or you're beating your top contender heading into WrestleMania. You're either beating them then or you're beating them on NXT or an episode of Raw or an episode of SmackDown to get the belts off of them before WrestleMania. Either way, it's not, unless you do a triple threat match to get the belts off of them, which maybe that should have been the play. But regardless, that match was unnecessary. It was unnecessary.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier training month. I feel like this is the match you do like big Fightful stuff for. I really think having them do segments where they stand next to each other and say their nicknames over again, I don't think it's going to help anyone. I think the thing with the women's tag champs, which is disappointing, is in theory what we just said should make them seem like monster champs, right? Like they beat both champions. Nia beat both of them in 2 straight nights. But because they're always digging their way out of holes with these people, holes, shit, I just did the Jax deal. Because they're always digging themselves out of holes with these people, it's like, they still don't feel like a big deal because she lost to Lana a week ago. They lost to like Naomi the week before that. It's like, it's that thing of like, okay, this re-emphasized Shayna and Nia as a team. Okay, good idea. Unfortunately, you're so deep in at this point with what they are, it's hard to change that perception and make them a monster team. They've lost an awful lot, so you're kind of, it's very much a good example of 50-50 betting where you're really achieving nothing. You're just evening everything out all times. It's disappointing.
I hope that Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez win the women's tag titles next week. I think those belts would do a lot better in NXT. They have more women that you can use in that position. I think they'll just be booked better more than anything. But that still doesn't excuse. But then what are you going to do with like a Nia Jax or Shayna Baszler? Then I'm worried that they're just going to be
that's
off television.
It does seem like for Shayna, this was there. Like, okay, she's good, so we'll find this for her to do, right? Because look, I'm not a scoopster. I can promise you, when they called up Shayna Baszler, their intention was not a tag team run with Nia Jax. I mean, it's pretty good. She won a chamber match in like the most emphatic fashion you'll ever see. So, it's how things work there, right? It changes very quick. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know, Joseph. With
did you see the Shayna Baszler's interview with the Renee Young?
I did not listen to that one. No.
She tells a story about how Vince said.
I did read this story though.
Yes. Yeah. She said Vince told her, "You're not a wrestler here. Like he wants it to look different, right?" It was the idea like a fight almost. And then she worked Natty, and they just like rolled. And they came for the curtain. Vince was like, "I hated it. Like it looked like you were just fighting each other. Like, can you go and do it again?" Natty called just a traditional wrestling match, and Vince was like, "I loved it. Now you're getting it." Look, man. I think some people just are what they are to that guy. Like, I think he sees it, and we're all probably the same. Shayna can wrestle any kind of match. Vince probably just sees her as like she's a very useful upper mid heel. Whereas someone else who may or may not have lost their job and got buried on a podcast that we like, he was probably seeing her as like the top. So it's just the way it happens. Perception is reality.
I mean, when Shayna Baszler ran through everybody on the Elimination Chamber last year, like it seemed like she was going to be that top person. Becky wanted to put the title on her at Mania, and they were like, nope. And that was kind of the end of Shayna Baszler.
Tell him, right? Like if someone says, "I would like with the belt on this person," they say no. I think that gives you a clue. It's not because they think she sucks. Let me reiterate. They just don't see her right now anyway in that particular core for whatever reason.
Catch up on some super chats. Bud Ryan says, excited for Big Van Bob walking Armageddon, even though like 10K people saw the TNA run. Please pop us, Bruce. He's money. We need low key and KK and the Fed. #BDC. You probably get all those references, Joseph. I don't understand any of them.
Kenny King and Low Key, that was the Beatdown Clan in the okay. I'm going to be honest here, Bud. I think the ship has sailed on our friend Low Key ever turning up in the New York territory again. But I'm not saying it's a scoop. I'm just saying he says in every interview he hates them and thinks they're not wrestling and wishes it all go away. So I would guess he's out on that. But we'll see.
KING King just re-signed with Ring of Honor, so
I like Kenny King. This not be mean about Kenny King.
Who is being mean? I don't mind Kenny King.
Jack Crosby brought his name up, and I said, Jack Crosby. I don't know who's a vanity searcher. Don't make it like I dislike the Kenny King. Had a terrific match on Ring of Honor TV a couple months ago. Shane Taylor, who I did a feature about this week on Fightful.com. Check it out, folks.
I didn't get any DMs about that one, Joseph.
It's all a rib on you, bro. I'm gonna do other promotions to knock your price down.
They're all in my DMs for the Molly features. Yours have been taking a hit ever since Molly came along. Gotta say,
the market has changed. She's taking my territory, man. It's brutal.
Some stupid punk says movie snacks, public movie theater. Yeah, look, I don't remember this. I can't remember the last time I was in a public movie theater. I think it's like a Star Wars movie, whichever the latest Star Wars one. That was the last time I went to a movie theater, and that was like a year before the pandemic. So I wasn't going there too often. Star Wars? Not a Star Wars fan?
I mean, it's not that last movie. I mean,
it was terrible. I think the whole.
You know what? It's a very good conversation to be had about the parallels between the Star Wars and the World Wrestling Federation. But frankly, we are 4 minutes away from the Robert O'Neill Corner 3, so I'm not sure this is the time, but there is a lot of comparisons to be made. I'm just saying.
Is there?
Yes.
Is this our show next week? We're not going to have anything to talk about next week. The Revolution preview? Who cares?
Who cares? Yeah, we've got to review the thing. Leave us alone.
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting is, it's that age-old debate about, do people just want the series to age the way they have? Like, so would kids still like it the same as they once did? Or has it just got worse? I don't know. George Lucas as Vince McMahon, kind of a mirror, not going to lie.
Next week, everybody, this is what we're going to talk about.
There you go.
We're going to talk about Star Wars. Maybe we get Cody on the show. Cody's a huge Star Wars fan.
And we actually like Cody, too. We wouldn't even have to pretend like most guys do.
Yeah. I'll message Cody right now on air.
Oh.
Public message and be like, hey, will you join us? Cody Rhodes. Will you join us? This is what we do to kill time before the segment everybody's
Now, what's interesting about this is Cody is a big, just love Star Wars for Star Wars guy.
Yeah.
He hates it used to be better mentality with Star Wars. I'm not ribbing, this is real, but he hates it. If you tell him the new ones suck, he's like, no, they're just different. So this could be a real heated debate, to be quite frank.
I'll message him right now. On third, what's the date next week? March. Is it March? It's March.
It will be March, yes.
March 4th? March 4th. This is a day after his Shaq match, too. We're like, hey, you just wrestled Shaq. You're in the ladder match this weekend. Who cares? Let's talk about Star Wars, all right? We don't care about any of that stuff. We just want to talk Star Wars with you.
It's a big, to be fair, that's like our best shot at getting him, I feel. I feel that really is.
Yeah.
I saw JJ said that Molly is 96 WCW and I'm 96 WWF. Feels generous to the Joseph James at this point in his life. Feels more like I am sort of like Lawler's Memphis territory on its last legs. Molly is World Championship Wrestling. But I don't know. The ratings are in. JJ's updated in the chat, Jeremy. You see that?
No.
Oh, yes.
O'Neill's field, the ratings are way up, so I agree. Drew Nicholas says, I'm worried they're keeping the program with Reginald around to throw Carmella into the match with them at WrestleMania. No. God, no. Drew, I didn't think that was possible. I don't think it's actually happening. Don't put that out there. People yell at me for the stuff that I put out there. This is way worse than anything that...
They're doing Baymiller, aren't they? Let's be honest, dude. They're going to do Baymiller as a team, and they'll be in a fatal four-way for the tag titles, and then they'll never team again, as is tag title rules.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah.
What else do we have? Anything?
Is he not here? What's the time? We have a minute.
He's here, but it's not time yet.
How long has he been here?
He's been here for like 3 minutes or so. 2 or 3 minutes. It's not time yet, Joseph. We got time. Okay. Did you see Lou Dort's game winner last night? Al Horford making the right basketball play.
I mean, I'm not surprised about it. He has beautiful eyes, Al Horford. He sees everything. So
Patty Mills went to double Al Horford as he was getting her. I don't even remember who was guarding Al Horford. Horford was about to go to the rim. Patty Mills came over, left Lou Dort in the corner. Patty Mills came over to try to swipe from Al Horford. Al Horford's like, no. I see my guy Lou Dort here in the corner. Hit him out there for the corner three. Cash, you can't leave Lou Dort open for that shot.
I saw a clip of when you guys played the Bucks and Al, he killed it, right? He played great. Taking Giannis on the dribble, just daring him, shooting like a fadeaway. I was in awe of it. Al looks like he's back, man. He's back. You know, Tatum for Al, who says no?
They're going to get 18 first-round picks for this guy. He's playing really well. He's playing well.
He's still good, man. I told you, right? He can still play.
Yeah, he can definitely still play. He'll help a playoff team. Anybody who's it seems kind of wide open this year in the West, at least. Like if you're a West team, if Anthony Davis can't get healthy, you really putting into the Utah Jazz? Like, is that where you're going? You're going to put all your money into the Utah Jazz? I feel like it's kind of open in the West.
I wonder if there is a deal to be made. I have not seen how Serge is playing for the Clippers or how Marcus Morris is playing, but I would be intrigued by Al on a team of that quality, because he's a big man that doesn't need the ball. He doesn't clog up the paint. Is Serge playing well enough where it's like, no, it's dumb? Or would you, because Serge, when he won it with the Raptors, he was the guy off the bench, right? The center off the bench. It'd be interesting.
They ain't got no first round. We already got all their first round picks, Joseph.
You don't want Marcus Morris?
No, I don't want Marcus Morris.
He shoots like 50% from free when it doesn't matter. He's awesome.
We need young assets and draft picks. Speaking of guys who shoot 50% from three, his 3-pointer, bang! It is time for Robert O'Neill's Corner 3. Robert O'Neill, big star last week. How are you doing this week, buddy?
Yeah, I can't believe it took off as well as it did. I'm actually pretty nervous about today.
Rob Wilkins says, I'm here to chew bubblegum and watch Bob O'Neill's Young Rock review. I'm all out of bubblegum. Joe officially lost it last week at the Young Roman comment. Robert O'Neill, I'll do the intro one more time. Let me get the clock set up for you. You're here to review Young Rock, episode 2, correct?
Yes.
Am I right in saying this?
That is correct, yes.
Here's the intro. After the intro goes, it's all you, Robert O'Neill.
His 3-pointer, bang! All right, so episode 2, On the Road Again. We open with 2032 Rock back at his high school opening Dwayne Johnson Library. And that turns into a story about how when he went to high school, he was a big shoplifter, kind of following up on what we learned last week about him. So Rocky Johnson was done with the WWF, so they moved to Philadelphia, and money was tight. So his parents started a cleaning business, but they didn't have enough money, so Rock had to shoplift and all that. So we go back to 1987, where Rocky Johnson is telling some random people in the gym about a time he wrestled Ric Flair. And back home, young Rock is upset because he wanted some Coca-Cola, and his mom bought the store brand because it was cheaper. He said she has to do it because they didn't have much money. Big theme of the episode here. Rocky Johnson calls from the gym and tells young Rock that he's going to be delayed coming home because he's busy telling people stories about wrestling Ric Flair. Gives young Rock some relationship advice, tells him to be confident and not wait to make his move. Rock can't go on the school bus because he looks too old, which has become another running gag on this show. So then we cut back to the pizza parlor after school where, Rock's with this girl that he's trying to impress and says that, he's rich, but he's doing this job to build character. His dad's a wrestler. That's where they get all the money from. And the girl tells him that, they watch WrestleMania, wants to know if his dad was on there. And he says no. But she's impressed anyway, so they have a date later. We go home. Rocky Johnson's telling the mailman some wrestling stories. The mailman just couldn't care less about them, just no selling him. Young Rock comes in and tells his dad he followed his advice. And he's got a date with this girl. And then we go back to school again, and the principal thinks that young Rock's an undercover police officer. Just a really great bit here. We go to the wrestling match, and as it turns out, it's on a community college campus. There's not a ton of people there, but we get Afa and Sika there. Still no young Roman Reigns. Still holding out hope for next week. Rock gets him some popcorn, but the girl's not impressed. And then Afa and Sika come back and scare them. The match starts, even though Rocky Johnson's facing some random local guy, he's going 100% because you got to sell and get the other guy over to hit your comeback. And these are all wrestling terms. So the girl ends up getting real into the match after all, and Rocky Johnson gets the win, and the girl's super into it. Then we see Rocky Johnson getting screwed over by the promoter, which is just the most real thing that's going to happen on this entire program. Comes home and apologizes to his wife for not getting as much money as he thought he would. She says it's fine. They need any money they can get. And then The Rock brings the girl Rocky Johnson had at school, and this bully kid says that wrestling's fake anyway, and The Rock punches him in the face, and that is it for the week.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, I did finish under time. I didn't think I would today. I don't know what to do now.
Your speed was incredible, Robert O'Neill.
Thanks.
Wow.
That has been Robert O'Neill's Corner 3.
His 3-pointer, bang!
Joseph?
Wow. I thought we were taking months. And he had 700 words today too. He was reading at a speed that frankly is dangerous. You shouldn't. I mean, it was, borderline just incoherent. But he was talking. He was saying words I recognised. And it was, it sounds like a completely uninteresting show, but I'm sure it's fun. He seems to enjoy making notes about it. So what are you going to do?
He did well. He did well, right?
He did as well as one could possibly do, reviewing Young Rock in 3 minutes as a comedy bit on a podcast.
History planet.
PJ Tucker. He's going to be a sixer by the end of this year. You know that, right?
I've heard this rumor. I've heard this rumor of PJ Tucker and Eric Gordon potentially.
Oh, hey, let's
that's
calm down.
The rumor.
No. I like the first. We don't need to be paying Eric Gordon. No, we're not doing that. I love Mike Scott. Mike Scott for PJ Tucker, I can talk myself into. He did. Robert O'Neill. Hey, look, chat looks happy. O'Neill did well, right? I just hope for his sake that the content, allows him to breathe a little bit more moving forward. Seems like it's a real tough gig right now.
He's gotta find the balance. A little, a little slow last week, a little fast this week. Gotta find the balance, because there was no real commentary in this review. This was just, at least last week it was that was weird, that was cool. At least there was some commentary in there. This week it was just, here's what happened.
I'm not sure he can work, to be honest. I feel like he's.
You said that last week. He can't work, but he can draw.
There you go. That's about right. He's he's a little stiff sometimes. He gets fired up on his comeback, man. Like, I'm trying to bump and feed him. 1 minute when I'm getting a heat on him, he won't move for love nor money. He's center of the ring, selling nothing. I start giving his comeback. I can't get up in time, Jeremy. He's all over the place. He's a little clunky. Suplex City indeed. Bobby needs to calm it down. He needs a Paulie dangerously in his ear to tell him how this business works. That's all I'm saying. But he'll get there. It's 2 weeks.
We will see. Joseph, do you have anything else to talk about? Don't talk about NXT. I made you watch it.
Oh, shit. No, we're not talking about that. He punched Roddy in the ball. Just book Roddy and Finn and get on with it so I can watch that. I don't, all of this melodrama and all this. No one in the world thought the Adam Cole wasn't going to do something dastardly. Come on.
Yeah, that was the fake apology thing. No one was buying it. It was very obvious from the start.
I think Jeff Hawkins said it, they need to do one where someone actually apologizes and it stays that way for 6 months, and then they do. Because at this point, no one in the world would buy a wrestling podcast. This goes for all promotions. No one would buy it. So it was a cool segment, I'll say this, man. I thought the Cross Escobar match was pretty fun. I see Joe Hulbert mentioned Cameron Grimes. That stuff was very funny.
That's fun.
It's a cool show, man. What do you want to say about it? The wrestling's good. I liked when the white guy with the short hair came out and cut the promo, and then the other white guy interrupted him, and they all wore black, and then all of their entrances are such that they have a spotlight on them, and they do a cool pose at the top of the ramp, and it's brilliant. It's a great show. I love the banter on commentary. I love it. It's just great. For me, that show for me is what I'd imagine Dynamite is for Joel Pearl. He's just why do people like this? Me. That's me with the WWF NXT.
Are we banning NXT?
Yeah, it's long gone. It's banned. Unless, here's the rule. This is in contract now, okay? Now that Rhea Ripley's gone especially. Unless Roderick Strong wrestles a match that goes in over 12 minutes or Finn Balor, it will never be mentioned on the distraction unless something happens that I can dunk on. Okay, so those 2 people and dunks. That's all it's allowed. Would you like to add any qualifications to this deal before we make it?
Say that again.
That's it. Here's the deal, okay? We will never talk about NXT again unless one of the following 3 things happens. My God, what's happening here? Your picture is no longer there. You've done a me live on air.
Oh, my camera's not working.
Yes.
This isn't good.
I can see young Jeremy. It's very exciting.
Yeah, that's very young Jeremy. My God, not good.
With the Vondelay Silver staring over his shoulder. Okay, this was the deal, Jeremy. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
This is very stressful. Okay. We will never talk. There we go. You're back. We will never talk about this show again unless one of the following 3 things happen. My God.
Joseph, I've coughed up.
No. This is the new low. No. See, you said it. You said in your new location, you were being supported on ideas, and everyone was saying, "Yeah, good idea, good bit, Jeremy. Roll with that bit." Nah, that's too far. I thought you were dying live on air. And you popped huge when I mentioned Randall's cough earlier, and now I know why.
I was
all
saying
your
this
coughs
up-
today.
Oh, Joseph, I've been coughing all show.
Was that all at work? Every cough?
Yeah.
Brother, I thought you were shooting ill. That's incredible. You've worked me. Wow. And I was like, I'm over here, like, I'm over here talking about NXT lore and shit, and you're setting up a bit. You're fooling me. You're hoodwinking me 70 minutes into a show. Most wrestling podcasts don't go 7 minutes, let alone the co-host gets fooled, flabbergasted, bamboozled. How do I follow up?
I've been possessed.
I thought you were seriously ill, my friend. Wow. Put the mask up in the corner before we go off the air here. It's only right.
Gotta find it. I'm dripping chocolate syrup
I can
everywhere.
tell. Yeah. You did a better job than Randall, I think, actually.
Thanks. It's not showing up in the corner, is it? There it is.
It's there.
Okay.
So yeah, NXT's bad.
If you didn't like the bit, blame the girlfriend.
I like the bit. I'm working with it. You got to clue me in sometimes.
I was trying so hard. Look at my hand. Look at this. Like all the chocolate syrup.
The Viper Randall Orton is here. The Legend Killer.
Got it all over my pants and everything. Just horrible. I tried to get the chocolate syrup in my mouth as O'Neill's Corner 3 logo was on there, and I couldn't get it in there fast enough. And so I had to, pretend that my camera went out.
Oh my god. It's the most ridiculous thing for such a fleeting pop too. I mean, it's just such a long. It's like you're in a long con for a $5.
I was working an hour-long bit there, Joseph.
This is a podcast. For people that are listening, that bit was you just coughing into the microphone.
Well, I tried to mute my mic, so I could.
It was working. You was doing layers of work. You wasn't just coughing. You would mute your cough sometimes to be like, "Oh man, I'm so ill that I'm ahead of the game." You were Russo working it. You were inside baseball. It's just. I'm not talking about NXT after that. What are we going to talk about? Possibly. That's it.
That's what possessed me. NXT. That's what possessed me.
Fair. I'm going to have to bring it up more often then in that case. That was saying to see. I'm not sure I'll ever recover from the visual as it happened, but I will appreciate the bit as it ages.
I don't even know what it looked like. Taxel says last minute super chat for that bit. Thank you, Taxel.
It was visceral. It was a lot more graphic than I hoped it would be, Jeremy. I didn't know it was happening. It was the cough plus the visual. It was like, oh my god! Legitimately in 2 seconds, I went from wow, is Jeremy okay to Jeremy is dying to oh my god, it's the Fiend Bray Wyatt bit. He's done a long route to this. By the way, okay, let's get to the real truth of this. That was political on your part. You saw how over O'Neill was getting last week, and you was like, that he's gonna come on. And I'm going to hit my biggest home run yet as soon as he leaves the show. I'm going to throw St. Joe's way that can distract everyone, the show. Because last week, after O'Neill, we were done, right? We were cooked.
Yeah, we're done.
You were not having that happen again. You had a big ace up your sleeve. So
I was worried that O'Neill would drop off week 2. You know how the ratings are, Joseph. Week 1, it's huge numbers. Young Rock did 5 million. Week 2, it did 3.5 million. 1.5 million people tuned out. I didn't need that to happen week 2 on our show. I needed something spectacular to keep the ratings up for week 2.
But where do we draw the line though? At what point do I stop you from doing this?
Joseph, that was loud. Why was that so loud? Joseph, I did the Bobby Lashley pose on this stupid show.
You did.
I think the line is just don't show your ass cheeks. That's what Sean Ross told me. Don't actually show your ass cheeks.
So are you now intending to transforming bits where you shut in 3 different attires in the middle of the podcast? How far are you going with this Fiend? The Fiend stuff's dangerous territory, Jeremy. What are we doing here?
I was going to do a black lipstick bit the week Alexa did it, but I didn't have any black lipstick.
Do you remember that? That was a month ago, Jeremy. That feels like years. Oh, I wish it never happened.
Oh, my God. Drew Nicholas says, definitely adding my own super chat for the bit. Brilliant. Jeremy loves this business. Look, man, I'm just... People can say they do our show. Nobody does our show.
They're like, tune in to see what I think of Adam Cole, Bebe, punching a man in the balls. Who could possibly care? We just use it as a stalling tactic to get to the bits. I will say, though, what you just did to me is the equivalent of working a guy in a main event and like blading without telling them. Very scary. You know, I thought a hard wager, brother. I was scared, you know. It's okay. Well, it's fine. Quite the visual, though, I'm telling you. When you watch it back, you'll be very proud of it. It came out very well.
I don't want to watch it back.
Oh, you're gonna have to, because I think you're gonna see some screenshots, my friend.
Yeah, I'm sure JJ's gonna post some screenshots. I feel like I'm gonna have to watch it back, but I don't want to. Joseph, what do you have to plug? I gotta go clean up.
Okay, I'll do some plugs here. The Shane Taylor feature on Fightful, at Joe Hulbert on the Twitter. That's all we need, right? Oh, and the Tuesday show, we mentioned it earlier. Do check that out. It was actually a lot of fun. The great Lou for the Great Spentico, tremendous guys. We had a lot of fun, so check that out.
Guys, we'll be back on Twitch in about 15 minutes after I wash my hands and change, get these SERP clothes off of me. We're going to be on Twitch for the Distraction post show. I'm going to be playing Retromania. It just came out today. I'm going to be playing that. Joseph and I will banter with you guys in the chat on the Twitch. But yeah, we're going to kind of review Retromania at the same time. And it should be fun. It'll be our usual post show where we just talk some shop, but also playing a new video game that no one has ever seen before. I think actually other people have played it before.
I love video games too, Jeremy, as you know.
You are a video game guy, I've heard.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big video game guy. I love doing interviews about video games. Big time.
Get Joseph on your video game podcast. All right, everybody. That'll do it for us. We'll be back next Tuesday on the Twitch. We'll be back next Thursday. Hopefully Cody Rhodes will join us. Just put it out there. Cody Rhodes is going to join us next Thursday. This is promote him and then not show up. It's a big swerve. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Thursday. Why do y'all watch this show? Bye, everybody.